Hi guys, it's me again. Migs has been interviewing Gangstock victims, and it seems like she is putting herself in danger. It's not a game. But let's talk about the Mandela effect, because she mentioned the Mandela effect, and I thought I would revisit the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect is 100% real from where I come from. I know 100% fact there's a change in the skeleton. There's a change. There's bone behind the eyes. There was never bone behind the eyes before. The rib cage has changed. There used to be the floating ribs. I remember those. We used to make jokes in school about a guy has one less rib because he gave it to Eve. Now we have the even amount of ribs on both sides. The lungs are shorter here. I remember the lungs being longer. They were bigger. And then you got things like the islands, like Australia. Australia used to be all by itself in the ocean. I don't know. There's been a few. When I was a kid, the buffalo were extinct. We had a teacher that would sing it in the classroom with her guitar, and she had a big painting of a buffalo on the wall. This is in Yuma. I lived in Yuma for a couple of years. This was first grade, and she would always talk about how the buffalo, no one's ever seen one. They had no pictures back then. They could only paint them, and they were completely extinct. All buffalo gone. And then fast forward to 79, there was these smog. We used to have smog attacks where you couldn't go outside because the smog was so thick. In the 80s, that was unheard of. No one ever heard of that. I believe the buffalo were still gone, but the smog thing was completely like no one ever heard of the smog thing. Then the buffaloes were suddenly here, which I didn't put two and two together. I didn't know what that was even about. Then when I moved into my studio in 1990, I saw previews to Star Trek: The Next Generation was going to come out on TV, and I was a Trekkie. My brother called me and said, "Yeah, it's coming out in a few months." And now, fast forward, my brother says, "No, I never called you. Star Trek's been out since 1987, The New Generation." And I'm like, not true. It came out in 1990. But my brother's memory is 87. And I know for a fact that when I moved into my studio in 1990, there was no Star Trek: The Next Generation. But now there is. Now it goes back into the 80s, which tells me I'm in a different place too. One time I was at Albertsons, and I knew the cashier guy. You know, we used to always